Now,
Kufla Medalad. Imlav, Yonasan ben Uziel is talking to Shammai. Imlav, Zarti. If either the gift that was given to me is a gift, and I can do whatever I want with it, or not. So Omar, Shammai said, he won me out. Now, Me'ikara my sovereign. What did Shammai hold that he was having a problem with what Yonasan ben Uziel did? Remember, a man didn't want his son to inherit him, so he gave all of his money to Yonasan ben Uziel, and Yonasan ben Uziel sold whatever he was given, and he kept a third for his own needs. He was magdish a third, and he gave a third back to the son, who had been disinherited by the father. So the Gemara says, Shammai was upset because Mishum Maisa de Beis Chora, because of what happened in Beis Chora. This not. Maisa Beis Chora be'echad shaya aviv mudrei menei ano. A father had made a ned there not to benefit from his son. And his son was making a wedding for his son, meaning the grandson of the father. Now he wanted to invite his father to the wedding, but the father has a neder not to benefit from the son. So how can he invite him? So Amar lechaveru. So the son told his neighbor, I'm giving you my house, or the chutzner, wherever the party was going to be, and I'm giving you the whole party as a gift. However, I'm doing it for an ulterior. I want you to give it back to me because I'm only giving it to you so that I'm not benefiting my father. Listen, listen, if you're giving it to me as matan, I'm going to be magdish to heaven, meaning to the Beis Hamikdash. Amr lo, I didn't give you my stuff to be magdishit. You did it as a loophole so that you could benefit your father. And I'm going to have to bear the sin because I participated in your loophole getting around the neder. They put a get there. What's considered a real matana? If you gift it to somebody and he's allowed to do whatever he wants with it, including to be magdishit, then it's a real gift. So initially, Shammai thought that which this guy was given a gift by the guy who was trying to disinherit his son, it was not a real gift. It was just a loophole to get it away from his son. However, now that he heard that Yonasan ben Uziel was magdish, a part of it to the Beis Hamikdash, he understood that it's matana gemur, and he can do whatever he wants with it. And giving it to the son was okay. Ton Rabbah. Famous Gemara, which we've had before. Shmonim Talmid Hillel Zaken. Hillel had 80 Talmidim. 30 of these Talmidim were so excellent that the Shekhinah could have come down and appeared to them like it appeared to Moshe Rabbeinu. 30 of them were on such a level that they could have made the sun stop like Yoshua ben Nun made the sun stop. Esrim Beinonim. There were 20 in the middle. Gadol Shabakulan, Yonasan ben Uziel. The greatest of the 80 Talmidim was Yonasan ben Uziel. Cotton Shabakulan was Rav Yechon ben Zakkai. The minor student, the most minor, was Rav Yechon ben Zakkai. Amru alav Rav Yechon ben Zakkai. Shlo hiniach, he learned everything. He knew Mikra, which is Chumash, Psukim, Mishnah, which we know is that which Rav Yehuda Nasi wrote down, Talmud. Let's see the Rashbam. Svaras HaMishnayos. What's behind the Mishnah? Shke'ein sha'anu mefarshim, like we are learning the Gemara. Like Kasuri Mechsera, like we show that there's a problem, so we say, oh, there must be something missing. Halachos ve'agodos. Halachos is halach l'mosh misinai. Agodos is drashas of psukim, like Medrash Tanchuma, Medrash Rabbah, Vayikra Rabbah. Digduke Torah, a diuk, when it says V'zelachem hatamei, that the vav comes to add that you're not allowed to eat blood of a sheretz. That's Digduke Torah. Then Vidukte Soifrim, diuks of Soifrim, Kegon, Gzeros Shagazru Chachamim Shlo Yavel L'Dei, various Gzeros that the Chachamim did to keep us away from Averis. Kalim v'Chamur, Kavachomer, Gzeros Shavos, Kufos, calculating the calendar, Gematrios, various Kegon Anoichi, Ananoshi, Katzvis Yehovis. It's not number. It's like Rosh Tevis, that Anochi spells for Aleph Nun Chaf Yud spells the following words, or Yorit Yira Rosa Natasa, Mishloach Umashalos Koivsim. These are like parables that the launderers would do, and we use it to learn Torah. Like in Koheles, it says Tikein Mishalim Harbe, like Aesop's fables. Sichas Shedim. The Rashbam says Lashbiam, to make Shedim take oaths, or to make a kameya for refuah. I'm sorry, Mashalas Koifsim, Mashalas Shualim. That's like the fox and the fox and the hen. Aesop's fable. Sichas Shedim, Sichas the Kolim, talking to palm trees. People would speak to the trees. Sichas Malachi Asharetz, to make a malach take a shvuah. Dover Gadol v'gam Dover Cotton. What's Dover Gadol? Meister Merkava. These Kabbalah. And Dover Cotton is Havayis to Abai v'Rabba. There's like 357 machloiksim between Abai and Rava throughout Shas, where they asked Kashas on Mishas Brises, and they were mataritz them. So Rav Yochanan ben Zakkai knew all of this. L'kai mashenemer lahanchil oyhai vayesh v'oitreseim amalei. 310 worlds. It's divrei Torah v'chachma. Now the Gemara asks, if this is how great Rav Yochanan ben Zakkai, and he's the least of the 80, how great was Yonasan ben Uziel? Was the greatest. So Amr Lav Rav Yonasan ben Uziel, Bishar sheyoytzev v'oisik b'toira, kol oif sheporeach alav nisrav. When Yonasan ben Uziel was learning Torah, there was a fire that came out of him up to the sky, that any bird that flew over him got burnt up. He was like Aish that was surrounding Har Sinai. So they ask in the Yeshiva Shevelt, so if this is Yonis and Menuzia, well, what about Hillel? What about the Rebbe? So some say that the Rebbe, that the bird would burn up within 4 amas of let's say the fire direct means it had a force field of 4 amas around him. I heard a different shot. I think I heard it from Rabbi Gruman, my Rebbe, that Yonasan ben Uzziah, when he learned, the fire went and burnt up birds. Hillel learned, but he was able to control the fire so that the bird wouldn't burn up. That's a bigger koyach. Mish. However, Zebni, Nema, a person is believed to say, this is my son. Now, why is that important? Well, if you had a child, then there's no yibum for your wife. So do you believe a person? Maybe he wants to save his wife from yibum. No, we believe it. Now, Zeh Achi, a person points out to a guy and he says, this is my brother. He's not believed so that the other brothers have to share the Yerusha with him. But regarding himself, Yitolama Bechelko, if he got a certain share, he can share it with his brother, but he can't force the other brothers to. And Mace, if that brother, where it's a question whether he was the brother, dies, Yachzir Nechosim, L'Mekoymen. The money that they gave, or that this guy gave to him as a share of the inheritance, it goes back to the brother who said he was the brother and who gave a chelik from himself to him. He gets that chelik back. However, if that brother got money from a third party, not from the father, and that brother died, who Yirshu Kolech Avimo, all the brothers get to inherit that guy. Because based on his testimony, he's a brother, then it works. Now, the Gemara says, Zebni Neman, L'mayil Chasa. Arveda Mishmuel Yorsho, to designate an heir, that he will inherit the property of the father. And Liftos Ishtom and Ayibum. And that if they had no children, and he has a brother, if he dies, we believe him regarding, oh, this is his son, and he had a son, therefore there's no Yibum necessary. So the Gemara says, Liyorsho Pshita. I mean, it's a davar pashut that we would believe him, because if he wanted to give him his money, he could give it to him as a gift. He doesn't have to tell us, oh, he's my son. So lifter sishlam yibum mitzrachle. The chiddush is to pater the wife from yibum. That's the bigger chiddush. Well, the Gemara says hanami tanina. Well, that's not a chiddush either, because it says in a Mishnah, Misha Omar b'shas bisasu yeshli banu. A guy's on his deathbed and he's dying, and he says, I have children in China. He's believed, and his wife doesn't have to get yibum. However, if he says, now, let's say there were no brothers. So the woman there's no yibum either. There's only yibum if there's a brother. Let's say on his deathbed, he says, I have brothers. Eino neman. There he's not believed to make her get yibum. And why? Hasam lo muchzik lan. There was no chazaka that there was a brother. And therefore the woman was becheskas ptura. So when he says I have a son, it's continuing that chazaka. But by the brother, by claiming that there's a brother, for example, let's say there's a chazaka that there is a brother in the world, and he says bni, he can still pater his wife, even though there's a chazaka that there would have been yibum if there's no son. Zebni Nema. That when he points out and he says, I have a son, he's believed Hoyel, that the Baal Sha'ama Garash Yasishti also Nema. If a husband on his deathbed says, I divorced my wife yesterday. Now a Grusha is not married, so she would also fall to Yibum. So since he has the right,
But wouldn't he have to have proof? I mean, you can't just say Garash Yetishti.
the same thing when he says, I have a son. There's no proof. The proof is his statement. So the question is, do we believe him or not? So the Gemara is saying, why do we believe him? Because he has because if he would have said she's divorced, we believe him. So we believe him to say that he also has a son. And therefore, in both cases, she's puttered from Yibum. On Rav Yosef, Moed Avram, like, I don't believe what you said. Tali Tanya but lo Tanya. You brought a halacha which isn't based on anything. The Zebni that he's believed is in a Mishnah. The statement of a Baal saying Garash Yashishi, that's not in a Mishnah. That's a statement of Amiroim. So Eli'iyat Marachiyat Mar. Amir Amar Shmuel, Bimnei Mamru Zebni Neman. Why do we say that we believe a person to say, I have a son, and therefore he patters the wife from Yibum? It's not that we believe him if he says, I divorced her. Any moment he can divorce her. So since it's in his power to divorce her and pater her from the Yibum that way, we believe him to say that he's got a son as well. Since we say this svor of Hoyel, that he has the ability to be Megarish her, therefore, Baal Sha'ama Garash Yasisti also Neman. Hoyel Biyada Lagarsha. So it's connected. The halacha is, though, a Baal who says, I divorced my wife is not believed. But she's a Suffolk Migureshes. And if she commits adultery, the children are Mamzerim. And if her husband dies, she needs Klitza. We'll see later on how this sugya ends. We pass like a bayit there. But if he says Zebni, he's Neman to pater his wife from Yibum. Even though there was a previous chazaka that they didn't have children. And even though there's a chazaka that they have brothers. The Rambam says if there are Eidim, that there are brothers, not a chazaka, then we don't believe him to say, I have children. And if there's a chazaka that there's no brothers, and he says there's brothers, he's not believed. Because he's trying to fool with his wife to usher her. So therefore, we don't believe him then. Kiyatz Rav Yitzchak bar Yosef, Rav Yochanan, Baal Shama Garashis Ishti Eno Neman. A husband who says, I divorced my wife, we don't believe her. Another reason why we don't believe such a person, because then it's going to make it a problem for her to marry a Kohen. So we need more evidence than just his statement. Minapech Rav Sheshes Biyodei. Rav Sheshes used with his hand, I don't accept it. Ozaleho. Hoil the Rav Yosef. What about the fact that Rav Yosef said since he has the ability to divorce her, he was Neman? And Aini, it's not so. So we have two contradictory statements named Rav Yochanan. Loi kasha. Listen to this reconciliation by the Gemara. Kadlam Afreya. He's not believed when he says, oh, he found out it's now June, he found out that on May 1, this woman, it's claimed that she was mezaneh. She committed adultery. And then all of a sudden he says, no, I divorced her April 1. So then we don't believe her because all he's trying to do is get her out of the death penalty. So he doesn't have the right to make a statement about the past tense. Kan la'ba. But if he says, I divorced her today, so from now on, she's considered divorced, and we believe him. That's not the final halacha. Tomorrow, the next blood will have a further discussion regarding this. Iboilahu. Amar lemafreya. He says, I divorced her 3 months ago. Fine. Ma'ulim niola haba. Fine. We don't believe him regarding the retroactive divorce. She was married back then. But do we at least say from now on she's divorced? There's a Shas concept called Paginan Dibura. Paginan Dibura. Do we take half of his word?
Only, but saying that somebody's divorced, you need to have a star.
We're not talking. If there's a star, there's nothing to talk
No,
about.
I mean, but that's the proof. In other words,
We're not talking about that there's proof. We're talking about that they just make statements. All these cases.
I understand, sir, but I don't understand the Gemara's Havamina because people making statements make statements. The reason why there's Gittin and there's all these things is that you just can't make statements.
No, because you have a hoil. That's the hoil of since he has in his power at any moment.
Also, I understand.
But that's only going forward is the way we've learning so far. But
even if you say to somebody, "I've divorced you forward," and there's no star, that's not a divorce. You need to give her a get. You can't just say, "I divorced you." And that's why I don't understand. I don't understand the Gemara. I'm not.
If he dies, she does not need yibum, based on the statement that he divorced her. So his statement has halachic ramification. And if she commits adultery after he made that statement, she's not put to death. Since he has the ability to divorce her at any moment, so his saying, I divorced her, is believed without any documentation. Because you have a hoil.
A woman would never be believed to say.
We have many cases, Walter, of the concept of, if he's going to tell a lie, he would have told a better lie.
No, I understand, but I'm just saying, but it only applies, it's funny, it only applies to a man, it'll never apply to a woman.
No, we have Mali L'Shakir. A person makes a statement that sometimes we believe, because if he's going to tell a lie already, he would tell a better lie. But you got to have such a svara. Remember, we had that in the beginning.
We had it many times.
No, but we had a whole diyun.
Yeah.
Remember,
no, I'm saying
Harold, we were in Portugal.
But you had it many times. But it just shows you that the Gemara is very. It's difficult to understand, but it's okay. I hear what you say.
Walter, a guy says to you, you owe me $1,000, and he says, I don't owe you anything. The din is we follow that. We follow that unless he has proof that he owed the money. Because I'm raya. So there are cases where oral statements have halachic meaning. Or if you admit, no, I don't owe you 1,000, I owe you 500. You're moide b'mikzas, you have to take a shvu on the rest. All of this is without any document. I have no star. If you have a star, there's no discussion. Bezdin deals in all these cases when we don't have a star. Somebody has a claim only. So this oral claim that I divorced her is effective, that if he dies, she does not fall liibum because she was not married, even though they didn't have children, and he has brothers. But it didn't work past tense, like I described. She's a married woman. There's a claim against her that she committed adultery May 1, and all of a sudden he shows up, no, I divorced her April 1. That's clear that we're not going to believe you because you're trying to save this woman from being put to death. So there we don't believe him. Now we're going into a more complicated issue where he said, I divorced her 3 months ago. We already said from 3 months ago till now, we don't believe that she's a divorced woman. And therefore, if she would have committed adultery in the last 3 months, she'd be put to death. But now the shaila is, do we at least, since he has the ability to divorce her right now, maybe we say she's a divorced woman from now and going forward. And that's this issue of Pagin and Dibura. Can we be machalik? That in the past we don't accept it, but going forward we accept it. Since he has this ability to divorce her right now. Or we say, Lord Pagin and Dibura. If he's not believed, that he's not believed at all, we can't split our hairs. We can't split our words. So Rav Meri Rav Zvid, Machlokes Amiroim, Chad Amar Pagina. We can accept half of his word. Chad Amar Lo Pagina. Now, Maishnami Rav. Why is this different than the case of Rav? Shama Rav. Ish Ploni Baal Ishti. Person comes to court and says, and huva acher, he, the husband, and a stranger are mitzarfin to say that they committed adultery, lahor go, to kill the male adulterer. Because we're not, so even though he's related to his wife, he can testify about the adulterer. Lohor go v'lo lohor ga, but not to kill her, because his testimony is not accepted for his wife because he's related to her. So we see Rava we're being Pagin and Dibura. We're using half of his words. We're using some of his testimony to kill the guy, but not to kill the woman. We rely on what he testified about the Eshes Ish, even though we are not allowed to accept the second part of the Edus regarding the woman. So that's not a kasha, says the Gemara. Betray Gufe Pagina. We're talking about two different people. The adulterer and the adulteress, his wife and the other guy. There we can use Pagina and Dibur. Bechad Gufa lo Pagina. But the same guy, right? The guy said, I divorced my wife 3 months ago. So it's about her. So, and now we want to say, well, maybe we can use that to say going forward, she's treated as a divorced woman. Well, you're being Pagin and Dibura with the same person. That we can't do. That looks like Sheker. Okay, we'll stop here. The sugya goes on. It's a very good Lamdisha sugya. There's a lot to say about Pagin and Dibura.